Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while since we done Commander Banter, and I figured, since I don't have a lot of money, let's talk budget, let's talk mana fix, and let's talk artifacts that go in every deck. Commander is big when it comes to getting its mana, lots of mana, because we like to play big, dumb, stupid stuff. So, you'll see pretty much every Commander deck will start itself with a Sol Ring. Sol Ring is under $10, like every other card on this list. And you probably already have one of these. If you don't, you're doing Commander wrong, and you should get one of these. There are people that even call for it to be banned. It's played that much. So make sure one of the slots of your deck contains a Sol Ring. You're not made of shekels. You have no farthings or pennies, and you're pinching. What else do you add in there? A real classic example from back in the day of Mirage in 6th and 7th edition, we have Fellwire Stone. And Fellwire Stone costs 2 mana, which is cheap for most artifact mana fixing. But this one adds mana to your mana pool of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. So if you're playing like a 4-color deck, Fellwire Stone has a pretty good chance of hitting at least one of the manas that you want to have. Sometimes you just want any kind of ramp. Colorless is fine. And you need a little extra utility. Maybe you're drawing a lot of cards. Thought Vessel has you covered. Thought Vessel means you have no maximum hand size. You can sit there and hold 20 cards in your hand if you really, really want to. It only costs 2 mana, and it will tap for a colorless. Commander Sphere, a more recent addition to the wonderful world of Commander. 3 mana for a mana rock. That adds 1 mana of any color of your commander's identity. So any mana you'd probably need. And later in the game, if you don't need it anymore, you can sack it. And draw yourself a card. That is utility, and utility is great. But we also like some of our permanents to stick around. And there's a lot of artifact destruction in Commander. So what do? Darksteel Ingo from the expansion Darksteel, which introduced the indestructible keyword. Now if they want to get rid of this, they're going to have to use an exile effect. There are a few exile effects in Commander, but there's not as many as destroy target artifact effects in Commander. So consider Darksteel Ingo when you're building your mana base. Do you have a way to untap your artifacts? Because you could pay 3 mana and untap Basalt Monolith that way. Or you could use a Voltaic Key. You could use a Mind Over Matter. Depends what you're playing with. But this taps for 3 colorless. And it's like $2. Worn Power Stone. 3 mana for an uncommon artifact. Comes into the battlefield tapped. Can't use it right away. But it's another Sol Ring. It's kind of like a Sol Ring that got used too much. And now it's a little slow to activate. And it costs a little more to play. But it's here. And maybe you want the bigger version. The Thran Dynamo from Urza Saga. Recently reprinted in Iconic Masters. You might have a few of these kicking around. It's a great artifact. Costs 4 mana, but it taps for 3. So it'll accelerate you real quick. Now, Signets are something that you should really have a lot of. These came in with Ravnica. And there is one for each 2-color pairing of cards that you could have. So there are 10 of these in existence. I'm showing the Orzhov. I like the way it looks. So if you're building a 2-color mana base, get your appropriate Signet. If you're building a 3 or 4-color mana base, you can throw in a couple Signets and have some really easy, cheap mana fixing. These things are pennies. Grab them. Abzan Banner was reprinted in the printed in the cons block, not reprinted, I should say, but they tap for a mana, one of 3 colors. There are 5 of these banners, 1 for each of the cons of Tarkir. And then when you're bored of them, you can pay 3 mana, tap, sacrifice them, draw a card. The shards also have something like this. They don't sacrifice to draw cards, but they do get you, again, 3 colors of appropriate mana. And if you're playing like a 4 or 5 color deck, you might want to throw a few of these in there and equal out your mana base. And that's pretty much it for mana rocks. But then you think, the mana rocks are alright, but I want a little more utility with my mana generation and mana fixing in Commander. Is there anything else? There is a lot else, but here's some budget options like Ashnod's Altar. If you're producing a bunch of creatures, maybe a token deck. A lot of black decks could use this very well too, because they tend to benefit from sacrifice effects. You can sacrifice creatures and get 2 colorless mana per creature you sacrifice. So if you have like 20 creatures, you got 40 mana. And it's cheap. Expedition map is one that I consider putting in almost every deck I build. Just because it's really great for going to get any land in your deck. It doesn't say basic land there, it says any land. So if there's a land that is very, very integral to your whole strategy, the expedition map will go get it. It costs 1 to play, costs 2 to pop it, so in your first 2 turns you can go get the land you want if you're comfortable with not being attacked. Burnished Heart is also one I consider for a lot of decks. It's an elk. Who doesn't want an elk in their deck, especially when you can sacrifice the Burnished Heart and get 2 basic land cards, put them in the battlefield tapped. You're playing a 3 or 4 color deck, this will help you fix tremendously. And it can block little 1/1s if you really need to do that. I was really surprised to see Solemn Simulacrum, the sad robot, being under $10, but I guess it's been reprinted so many times that was inevitable. When it comes into play, get a basic land card, put it in the battlefield tap, and when it dies, you draw a card. Flicker effects are fantastic with this. Blink it in and out of play, and get a bunch of basic lands. Find a way to reanimate it, sacrifice it a bunch of times, draw a bunch of cards. Solemn Simulacrum is a staple in this format for a reason. But that's alright. Sometimes it's cool to be a sad robot. This one came out of Magic Origins. Sword of the Animus is an equipment. It'll buff your creature, give it a +1/+1. But when it attacks, you can search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So every time this creature attacks, go get another land. Amazing for mana fixing, and this thing's like $2. I really recommend actually grabbing this now, in case it doesn't get reprinted for a while. It recently got reprinted. It might get reprinted every year. We don't know. Let me know any other budget EDH mana rocks, mana fixings that you think should have been in the video. You like to add to your decks. I love to talk to you. Like, comment, subscribe. This help. And until next time, this is Dottie saying bye-bye.